and welcome everyone. I'm Doug O'Keefe from TAM Training and Transformation, an Oracle University partner for over 20 years now. And this is episode 2 of our hopefully continuing series, The Adoption Mindset, TAM. And you're here for From Content to Adoption, OGL Best Practices, AI integration, and what comes next. I'm going to be behind the scenes today as our Director of Education, Wanda Wilson, takes you through today's deep dive. So, without any further ado, Miss Wanda, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Doug. And again, thank you. Welcome, everyone. And thank you so much for spending part of your day with us to go over some things that Rebecca and I truly, truly enjoy. And let me officially welcome Rebecca Popelski. Now, Rebecca, I know I always tear your name up. She is from Oracle University. Y'all, let me tell you all about Miss Rebecca. Well, almost Dr. Rebecca. That's what I'm excited about for you. Rebecca has been an enablement lead for Oracle Guided Learning for 3.5 years. She has worked with all types of organizations, including in utilities and construction, higher education, city and state government entities across all types of Oracle and non Oracle applications to frame digital adoption as a priority from the beginning of a digital transformation, creating efficient and effective learning experiences that deliver faster return on investment. She is currently a doctoral candidate in learning experience design and technology. Hear ye, the lady of the hour. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Thank you, Wanda. Thank you for inviting me, and I really appreciate the team. You guys have been a great partner. I know you.
That is the truth. That is the truth. We have had some great, great experiences, some experiences that I think just made us get closer and closer together, haven't they? But
Definitely.
nonetheless, yes, ma'am, nonetheless, that is true. All right. So, you know what? Let's get right into it because the people are here with us and we want to go ahead and get into our chat. So, one of the first questions, we're going to go into best practices. What are the best practices in instruction and design for Oracle Guided Learning?
So I think, Wanda, best practices can mean a lot of things when it comes to designing Oracle guided learning. And I want to speak about it kind of in terms of the life cycle of the application implementation, because I think that's really important when we think about how we're going to frame our mindset for a digital adoption. And sorry, I think I talk with my hands too, so I'm going to try not to do that. But um, so when we talk about the life cycle, it's important for a couple of reasons. So we should always ask ourselves, what's the purpose of a digital adoption platform, in this case, Oracle Guided Learning? And the answer to that is to speed up digital adoption of a new software by understanding where humans might experience friction, either through the process, a transaction, or maybe terminology, even the user interface in some cases, whatever the case. So when they first get in and our end users, our employees, start to observe the application, even before they start a transaction, which, by the way, we want them to be able to do as soon as they've oriented themselves in the application. We don't provide instruction on how to be an HR specialist or a buyer or anything like that, right? That's the job. But OGL provides information on how to use the application to carry out the transactions for their job. So we normally have to design conversations first with a customer, and this is in the application lifecycle, correct? So we should be very focused on identifying those areas where changes are going to be the hardest. So that doesn't necessarily mean building OGL content at this point. It does help us to identify needs when the project implementation team gets into the application for the first time, and as they start to make decisions on configuration to fit the organization's business processes, or to identify areas where those processes are going to have to change. So then we move forward during testing for the application itself. It's so valuable to gather all that data. And I'm going to say data for a very specific reason. I'll get to that in a second. But when we gather all that data, we already have a good foundation from design and where we can start placing OGL content. Specifically, I like to first place hotspots, which is a type of OGL content, around those areas where we think there might be friction, to see, yep, as we're looking at all those people spending time in this page or this field, and it starts to back up those initial project team intuitive callouts, maybe from the design sessions, into something verifiable with the data. So I also think testing is a good time to start putting some organizational specific information into the application in the form of smart tips and messages. In fact, if I could, and it made some sense from a licensing perspective, I'd put OGL in the old application and the new application to start seeing those areas where this is going to be a change, either in terminology or it's going to be a difference in process, knowing that we'll be able to communicate based off from those interactions with the OGL content, and we'll be able to see activities in the new application as soon as possible. So that's huge from a data analytics standpoint. As we all know, well, maybe we don't on the call, but there's a huge analytics dashboard in OGL, in the OGL console. We're able to take that data and start to see the trends almost immediately as soon as you turn on OGL in the application. Also, when I'm talking about data, we talked about this a little bit, but I want to look from an instructional design standpoint at behaviors. And so we're looking for interaction. We're looking for how people are using the application, even if it's not the way we're originally intending. And we're taking those analytics and we're saying these are good areas for information, for terminology, for just introducing Oracle guided learning to help the end users when they get into the application and start their transactions, start to do their job immediately in the new application. Another thing to consider is most Oracle software is very intuitive. So navigation in many cases is either limited or it might not be required at all. So we understand some people will need it, some people want it. So having the testers, even in testing, identify those top 5 or top 10 transactions where we know employees will need specific, what I like to call buttonology or navigation. We can build that OGL process based on that. So top 5, top 10, we want to be sparingly building those types of pieces of content, but they are important, particularly for like day one, what we would call day one activities. I also think the more that organizations can get employees into a sandbox earlier, the less worry and concerns there are on that first day of go live. And we might even glean some valuable information that doesn't come out of testing from that experience. So I think one of the things from an instructional design perspective is everybody's different and everybody's going to observe the application for the first time. They're going to orient themselves and then they're going to say, okay, these are the gaps. So we want to make sure that we're identifying those gaps and we kind of understand that, and hopefully we can anticipate those, even if there was a sandbox environment. I also know that that's not feasible for everyone and could be cost prohibitive. So we do that during the month after go live. So, and normally we call that hypercare. So back to the life cycle. So, and we can glean a lot of information from the questions that come in when the system is turned on. I think that's also one of the most valuable times in terms of design, because just like design, people are observing the application, they're orienting themselves to the tasks, and then they're going ahead and they're carrying out those transactions that are going to impact their daily lives. So we just want to be in the background as OGL designers, as instruction designers, thinking about observing how they're observing the application, how we can communicate that specific nugget of information so that no other employee is left guessing. And OGL is the perfect tool to deliver that information right when someone is carrying out that transaction and right when they need it, right in the flow of work. So this is also part of adult learning principles. So it makes sense that we see employees that are delighted by their experience. And when they don't have to go searching for how to do something or what drop down to select or what information do I put here or in this field, which we know happens all the time, it increases the ability for the user to use the application immediately and then also be happy and confident that they're doing the right thing and they're doing the job that they need to do in this new application. So in an application implementation lifecycle, we've started to consider the end user or the organization's employees from that first design session all the way beyond go live.
You know, everything you said obviously is so spot on. And I've been in instructional design now almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. And I do remember the old school. People, process, technology, right? And that is everything that you pretty much said here in a nutshell. Always remember the people, the process, and the technology. And obviously, Oracle Guided Learning does a great job of that. I like to call out some of the great points you also made a moment ago. What is the purpose of OGL? Having that umbrella right there at the top. What is our purpose? What is going to be our end goal? Not adoption is just a piece of that, isn't it? But there's so many other facets to Oracle Guided Learning. And another thing you pointed out, areas where change is going to be the hardest. Isn't that
Yes,
something? My colleague talks about that a lot. Pain points, identifying the pain points in this new transformation. That is something that you also have to key in on when doing an OGL implementation. And lastly, I like what you said about those top 5 or top 10 transactions, right? That you can be very specific with. Get them used to the technology. Again, the buttonology, as you put it. And like you said, you can get some very good information just from that phase, right? That very early on
definitely.
phase. And it can help you to build your expectations, build your model to
Mhm.
after adoption. So very great points.
I
All
have
right.
I have two
Yeah.
add-ons, if that's
Yeah.
okay, while
Yeah,
we're talking
absolutely.
about it. So
Yeah.
one is the old school, and in my dissertation I've been looking at this a lot. Is so when we're talking about traditional like instructor-led training, right, versus
Mhm.
uh, which is more like a physical learning environment. And then we talk about this digital learning space. So I think when we start talking about this digital learning space, that's really where Oracle Guided Learning shines. And we can start to create this learning space that might even mirror instructor led training, but it's just in the flow of work. So thinking about how we're communicating, even if we would normally do it instructor led, there's a lot of information that we can provide in the flow of work that would be like more of a traditional physical space in the digital space. So that's one. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, um, oh, I just spaced it. Um, Talking about, oh, the value of feedback. Sorry. I was taking the
Oh,
note and I
that's
left it
good. That's
halfway
right. That's
because
right.
um, we do have both feedback at the end of the Oracle Guided Learning content and then also surveys. And I always encourage organizations that I work with to think about that feedback strategy and how important it is to have that two-way communication. So you're not just presenting the information to the end user, but also taking back, like, is this valuable or is it something that needs to be adjusted so that it actually meets your employees' needs?
Yeah. That is all great. But you're right. That in the flow of work is just that really key thing in the DAP tool space. Absolutely. In the flow of work. All right. So y'all, we do have a poll that we're gonna share. We're gonna let's hear from everybody here. We have a poll here. Um, so can everybody see our poll? All right. Which OGL, perfect, thank y'all. Which OGL content types is your organization currently using? And that is if you have OGL, what are some of your content types that you're currently using? We have here process guides, um, tips, messages, hotspots, and I think you can select more than one. Right? Surveys. If you scroll down a little bit, we also have surveys, task lists. There's even an option there if you have not built. All right. All right. So we heard from a few people. Okay. Just another second or two, and I'm going to share the poll. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the results. Let's look at these. All right, look at that, Rebecca. We got some people there. They have the usual. Look at that. It's the usual process guides, tips, messages, hotspots. Is there anything there that you want to call out specifically around any of these options that have been selected here?
I think this looks pretty normal. It looks kind of like I would say probably a go live mix. But
Okay.
I do like that someone highlighted hotspots, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna shout out again to hotspots because it's a really low risk, no risk piece of OGL content that just sits in the background. Your end users will not see it; they just interact with it, and you can get so much data from that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
do
great.
a lot of work, don't they? They don't get a
Yes,
lot of credit, do they? But they're just back there just working. All
for
right.
sure.
Yeah. So, you know what? We have another question here. So, there are times we have customers who are already live, right? They're already live with Oracle Fusion and OGL, and then they ask us to come in. What are some of the considerations that should be made when integrating OGL with non Oracle or custom HTML applications?
That's a great question, Wanda. So I'd actually, I'm sure you would too, but I'd love to put OGL on all the apps, right? So anything that's
Yeah.
HTML based, let's do it. That would help us as we transition or we do additional digital transformation, as you said, when someone's already purchased Oracle. Uh, but let's put OGL on all of it, right?
Yeah.
However, I also know that might not be feasible. So I would say the first question I would have is, do you have other Oracle applications? And the reason for that is because there's probably going to be some integrations there with some of those other apps. If and that's going to make that human behavior part of digital transformation possible. So we're kind of covering the connection between the two applications or three, however many you have. Um, so and kind of creating that seamless end user experience for your users. So when you have integrations, then we need to consider how OGL will be deployed. So in many cases right now, that's via extension. So for extensions, I know some organizations have objects blocked, or so that could be a concern. There's probably a policy out there for how people are managing their browsers, so that's something else to think about. And then also how the organization is perpetuating that extension through the browser so that we get it to all the employees who need it. So things to consider when you're talking about non-Oracle application. We have tested many applications for what we're calling multi-cloud now. So we're gaining a better understanding of what does and doesn't work with other applications.
Okay.
For the most part, it's going to work what we call Fusion. It's going to work similar to the Fusion application, but there are some things that we're noticing from other HTML-based applications that could influence how you're presenting the information to the end user. So one of those is custom rules. So we know in the Fusion application, the security rules are fantastic, and that helps you kind of lock down where people can access information and how they interact with the information. It's the same with it will not be the same, excuse me, with a multi-cloud implementation. In many cases, what we've seen is either the permissions or the way that security is implemented, or even maybe there's not security. So you won't be able to chunk that information like you would with the security rules from a Fusion application in a multi-cloud application. So it's not necessarily a problem. I would say it's not impossible, but it just requires some additional thinking through on how you want to communicate that information to the end users. Any questions there? I know I talked
Yeah,
a lot.
that's right. It's always great to call out, right? The maybe the hurdle that people will face. But you know what? I have an emoji poll for the people in the room, an emoji poll. So go down there to react and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Were you aware that OGL may be compatible with other SaaS applications outside of Oracle Fusion? Oh, that's good. Look at that. We got a smart group. So this group knows that it's compatible. So that's great. Great
Fantastic.
information. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
and if oh I was gonna pitch if you want to test something, we're always looking for things to test too. So
we had
um,
sent some things to you before that we wanted.
yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, and it was pretty quick turnaround when we sent
Mhm.
some things over to you. Yeah.
I have two more considerations, Wanda,
Okay.
for multi-cloud, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. One is auto segmentation. So in many cases, that doesn't work with multi-cloud. And what I mean is, in a lot of cases, we have the guide already kind of programmed
Yes.
through the selectors and things to show up. Like if a user goes out of the transaction that they're working in and they don't close the OGL content, then it'll pop back up as soon as they're back into
Okay.
that transaction, right? It's not a huge issue, but we have seen in some areas where the auto segmentation might not flow as nicely as it does in the Fusion application. Not a huge issue again, but I think it's just how we're thinking about presenting the information. And we probably need to add some additional conditions to steps or tie a content item to a particular item to make sure it's functioning similarly. And then the second, I know the base content in the use cases is very popular. And it's, in case you're not familiar, I know you are, but for our group,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a lot of, we have what's called the content library for Oracle Guided Learning. We've started building out a lot of content based off from our employees' experiences, based off from our partners' experiences, based off from the organizations that we worked in the past, and we've actually built out much of the content that you can just import directly into your library. So for Fusion, this is fantastic, and we do have some other areas where we're building out base content, but we might not have an existing type content library for your particular application. So in a lot of cases, I would say this is going to influence the most when we're talking about like these big, heavy process guides that some organizations come to expect. In a lot of cases, we probably don't want to build those. We want to stick more to something like smart tips and messages, where it's going to be really resilient. It's going to be really easy to adjust, and you'll still get the same information, just presented in a different way. So a couple of things to think about when we're talking about multi-cloud applications.
That is a great call out. A great call out of the best use cases in that scenario. Great call out. Now you know where we're about to go. Now you and I have had some conversations about this new thing called AI. AI is everywhere. All right, everybody. Y'all heard of AI? Give me a reaction here in the webinar if you've ever heard of it. It's such a new term, but no, but nonetheless, that's just a little joke. All right. So let's talk about OGL's AI Assist. AI Assist and OGL. So how does AI Assist for guide creation change that authoring process, and where is human oversight still critical? Again, we're talking about the human aspect and then that AI assist there in OGL.
So I just want to say AI is amazing. I use it every day. So and by AI, we mean artificial intelligence. So I continue to uncover new things that we can do with AI every single day. So I think AI assist for guide creation is going to be helpful. I'm going to say that the big focus right now should be on the data. And so we know good data in means good data out, and the opposite. So when there's not good data, we know there might be some questionable answers from our AI. So I think that's probably the most critical thing for human oversight right now is the critical thinking part. So for those times when maybe the data isn't there, or when we're talking about how we're prompting, I just actually had an experience with a customer earlier today, where we just couldn't get the wording quite right using the AI assist, and we kind of tried to prompt it a couple of different ways, and that's the human part, right? Is how do I want to communicate this information directly to the end user in the most efficient way possible? And so we're not causing any confusion. I think that's part that is going to be very important for humans to be in the loop as we develop using AI assist. For me, also OGL authorship, which I think is kind of the same thing, but not really. We just need to remember that AI is an algorithm. And so it was most of the time it was trained to give the most straightforward answer with the data that it has. So I'm always going to be thinking, particularly as an instructional designer, as you know, Wanda, how do I communicate this information in the clearest way possible, where it's going to resonate with the largest audience? And this I don't think, at least right now, can't be replicated by AI. Most of the OGL content types that we have, as far as smart tips, messages, hotspots, launchers, it's so easy to make that right now that I'm just not sure that you need AI yet. I would say from a selector aspect, from a like initial content build, maybe. But when we talk
Yeah.
about just how we're communicating information, it's negotiable at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah,
We need a human. That's right. Humans contacting humans. That's good. It's good to know.
sure.
Yeah. Now,
And I
I
also
think
think,
you, I'm
oh,
sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say, influencer. We know human behavior is a key part of what we do, and I think influencing that, thinking through how we influence human behavior is really a key part of what we do in our everyday jobs, and that includes how we develop OGL
All right. Thank you for that. And I like what you said about OGL authorship. Look at that. All right. I like that. I like that term. All right. So I think you have a demo for us, right? An AI assist demonstration, everybody.
I do. Let's go ahead and share. So this might not cover as much as we'd like. I can't really show you like AI authorship in the actual console itself, but I am going to show you some of the ways that we've been talking about using AI in the application currently. Does that sound okay?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
We do. We see it.
So I think one of the things when we talk about AI is we really want our end users to trust that the AI that we're giving them is valuable and also to be confident in using it. Those are kind of two of the things. I know you attended the customer forum with me and the partner forum um, in Nashville. So everybody next year, we'll see you there. But that was one of the things that I took away from our conversations there was that people just might not trust AI as much right now. There's a lot of policies around like how do we use AI. So even this little message here saying like what is Oracle AI and okay, I want to see that policy so that I know how to use it. These are things that we can present, right? And maybe we're using an AI campaign, for example, or we're saying like we want to get people to start to continue to use it or start to use it. This is something that would be pretty handy to just introduce it from a conceptual aspect to our end users. And then it's kind of going to show you some of the other AI, and you can see each of the little links out. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to a specific
Right.
page here. Actually, it might be. So I'm going to go to procurement. And you can see that it has the redwood, the new introductory
Yes.
introductions there. So that's a big thing. Maybe not from an AI aspect, but I will say from a UI perspective, digital adoption is digital adoption, right? So
That
anywhere
is.
where you can, where you can say like this is a feature that we want our employees to adopt, we can communicate that information by using Oracle Guided Learning. And so again, we kind of just want to highlight this is a feature. Look, it's here, and we have a message here, and then we also have this beacon. And so I kind of like this beacon because it's flashy from a graphic perspective, but and it also kind of invites the end user to go ahead and try to test AI out. So I'm going to select all asset here and then go into the Ask Oracle. So I also like this message because it kind of says like, don't worry, we got you. Go ahead and ask your question. There's some questions here. And then it also kind of just explains some of the features around how to use AI. So we can also, I've seen an example where it actually provides some prompts, even though there are some prompts there, maybe there's some specific that we know from an Oracle guided learning perspective. And then also we have some highlights here where we're just saying like these are some of the things that you can use based off from this content. So, any questions on anything there?
Any questions from the room? Any questions from the room? Let's see. I don't see any.
That's
I think
okay.
everybody, silence is golden. They love it. They love it, Rebecca.
And then I'm going to show you. So I actually selected onto one of the populated prompts there. If you see here, you can integrate Oracle guided learning into this area. If you select here, sorry, my other AI. Talk to you later. So
They're competing.
This is a demo environment, so sorry, it's a little bit busy. It
Yeah,
wouldn't be a
yeah.
normal experience for us. But it's just going to take you to that non-catalog request so you can see how Oracle Guided Learning and the AI assistant itself are kind of working together in tandem. So we know the prompts, it's going to give you the high level and it'll probably take you directly to the fields. But then in a lot of cases, what we've seen is this information in the fields itself are areas where it might be helpful to have additional Oracle Guided Learning so that you are helping your employees make those decisions about what do I put in this information, what are the drop downs that I have to fill out, those types of things.
All right. Thank you for that. That is wonderful. All right. Any questions from the group? We'll just go ahead and move on. All right. So, what opportunities exist for using OGL to generate content beyond in application guidance? Now, you and I talked about this the other day, and I was so impressed with your response to this. But let's share it with the people. I love what you said. But yeah, go ahead. Let's share this.
Especially as we start to integrate AI more and more. There's different ways to think about using OGL content. And I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but there are already job aids and videos, and I'll show a little demo in the end, simulations in many cases that can be enabled so that your employees can view the content in various mediums. We've seen some popularity, and maybe some people don't necessarily want to just see the flow of work. That's probably the handiest, particularly when you're trying to carry out a transaction. But some people like to be prepared, so maybe they want to see the video or the step guide in advance, and that type of functionality can also be used for your knowledge content. So there's a help article or an FAQ, or I can even see making that into some type of like fun blog where you're saying, have you seen this? Isn't this cool? Right? So also when you use an OGL first strategy, then all your documentation is consistent. So there's less looking around. Did I put that on the SharePoint? Did I add that to the chat? So everything is housed in the OGL console and available for an organization right there in the widget. So, and I'll show a little demo of this as well. You can also email and print all of that content. So that's also going to be helpful for even if you wanted to just send out like an email to your buddy saying, "Hey, have you seen this?" You could do it via the OGL widget. Another where I've seen some organizations using OGL is in the analytics. So whether it's to inform your communication strategy or your training strategy, or if you have one, even a feedback strategy, I'm going to keep saying it, Wanda. People are starting to get very creative around how they can gather the analytics on how and what their employees are picking up quickly, and then where more assistance is required, and how can we put some training wheels or boundaries on those things that we consistently see people making mistakes on. So I'm also going to take this kind of the opposite way. So why not take the comms, blog posts, or emails that you would normally send, or your marketing section would normally send, and put them into OGL. So we have a nice little news tip where if you can start to change the behavior in your organization, maybe make that a newsletter, and people are consistently going there to find out the latest details and see the latest goings on for your organization and for the application. So also something I've seen is where you have like a huge email or a huge email list, like company wide. Maybe put a message out there for a couple of weeks telling people, hey, this is something that's happening, so it doesn't get lost when you're sending out 100 other reminders into someone's inbox, right? We know that happens a lot. So it's another way to communicate in the application to all of your employees.
All right. All right, so you have and I'm gonna tell you, I really like the OGL first. OGL first. I tell you, y'all, did you all coin that yet? Because we're hearing it from our clients. OGL first. And as we talk to them, we are saying we share that value and that view. OGL first strategy to make sure you can put OGL through, like you stated, through communications within blog posts. You can be able to, build one source of information, right? And disseminate that out to everybody. All right. So, and I'm gonna tell you, I also like the little news tip now. I like that tip showing up there, and it makes me want to click on it. I'm not gonna tell you the truth, the little news. I'm like, oh, I have some news. Let me click. I don't even need a beacon. So again, I really like that. But I think you have a demo for us for this as well.
I do. Give me 2 seconds. I am
Okay.
going through the steps quick and advancing that, and then I'll share my screen. One sec, sorry, it's slow. Share. Okay, so when we terminate employees, this is actually the process guide that I'm going through now because I don't know how to do it otherwise. It's something I don't do. I'm not an HR specialist. But if we continue here, so this is probably a process you don't carry out quite often, right?
We hope not. We hope not. We
Yeah,
want to
for
keep
sure.
everyone. Yeah.
And so in a lot of cases, I would refer to the process guide, but I really wanted to show you the email at the end of this because I thought it was pretty handy. Let's see, continue. Sorry, all the redwood has the layers, which is fantastic, by the way, because then you don't have to go searching. But when you're trying to just show a demo, sometimes it gets
Yeah.
a little slow.
Yes.
So and then I do like this that it says after, so for demo purposes, I have to hit cancel. So I'm going to do that. So I don't mess up anybody's day, retiring or terminating them. And then you can see here, so you completed that employee separation process. But for any questions, please contact HR support. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to draw this up. So this little email will pop up that is an email template from your Outlook box. And you can put anything you want here. I just put a little example, name of employee. If you needed additional like documentation or anything like that, then you can see it will go directly to your HR. So this is something like from a particular for something like terminate employee where you don't do that activity a lot or that transaction. It'd be pretty handy to like just say these are the steps that you need to go through, or this is the information you need to provide to your HR provider so that we can make sure that the termination is seamless.
That is fantastic. That integration is fantastic because obviously, the organizations have different flows. You could have a line manager that will initiate terminating, and then the HR department has to do something even the more. And so this type of integration can definitely help that process. And that's just an example of a way a process could flow there. All right.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's fantastic.
So I'm going to select done there. And then I'm actually going to show you too what I was referring to with the blogs or like the videos or those types of things. So, and this is actually the one that I just used, but you can see that you have the step guide or a video here as well. So I'm just going to export the step guide so we can see. And I know this is probably like elementary, but I think this is useful from just like it's something maybe people don't necessarily think about from like a blog or from an FAQ perspective, more just like in the as an end user perspective, but you could actually export this if you see the little print or the email here.
Yeah.
So, and then you could use it for any other type of communication. You can also see, you can select the email from there so that you can log out. So just a couple of different, I guess I would say mediums on how you could present the information to, maybe you have like a organizational specific, like community of practice, for example. Maybe you want to post
Yeah.
this there. So something like that, that's kind of a nice option to have. And then I'm going to show the news because I really love this. And I think it's really handy. So, and this is another thing that I was saying, instead of like kind of flipping that communication strategy, for example. So just getting your end users to go to the news, and then we just have a nice Redwood experience here because we know that's part of the digital adoption experience right now. So you can just get your end users used to kind of jumping in there and checking out the latest news, and you can update this fairly easy. I mean, this is just a couple of steps, so fairly easy to maintain and sustain going forward.
That is fantastic. And again, when you just have one space, right? One single
Mm.
source of truth, I think end users really appreciate it. They don't even know they appreciate it, but they actually do. All right. So I have another poll. Let's see. Let's go to poll. Um, see everyone. So, oh, I've already shared poll two. Already went through that one. Let's go to poll three. All right. How does your organization currently communicate policy updates, process changes, or new feature releases to users? And it is multiple choice, so you can choose more than one. Okay. Now, for some reason, I'm not seeing the results like I did on the other one. Did someone else launch this? They probably did launch this for me. I
Not seeing
can't
it
see
either,
it.
Wanda.
Okay. No one's seeing that one. Let's see. Let's try it again. I don't know. Oh, let's see. You know what? That's user error. And I'll just take that. No
We need some
worries.
OGL.
There we go. I need OGL and Zoom. All right.
It's a hot spot for you.
There you go. All right. How does your organization currently communicate policy updates, process changes, or new feature releases to users? All right. We're going to give that a few more seconds. More seconds, okay? We can get a few more answers here. Get a few more answers. All right. I think that might be all we're going to get. Let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Okay. And we're going to share those results. Look at that. You see those? We send emails that often get lost or ignored. Look at that. I tell you, in a given day, depending on your position, there's some people that get so many emails that information gets bogged down. So, like you're
Mhm.
saying, that if you have some another place, and if Fusion is where you go to do your job, I'm almost certain that you will be able to see the news, right? See the news, or at least see something that is important there. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I have my last poll. I have my last poll before we open to question and answers. Okay, we're going to go to my last poll. All right, who currently owns OGL content creation and maintenance in your organization? Who currently owns that? All right, let's see if we can get a few more people. Oh, look at there. We get some people to tell us all about it. All right, that's good. All right. That's a good number. I'll take that. Let's end that poll. Let's share the results. Look at that. All right. They have a dedicated OGL team. And it
Mhm.
says they would rely on a partner or a consultant. And we do not have anyone. Oh no, we want them to have somebody, don't we? Now, what are your thoughts on this? I know I have my special feeling, but how does OU think of this? With
I I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it as well, Rhonda. But I think from the OU perspective, we would really just love everyone to. It doesn't take a lot of resources, but to have one resource from the organization as the OGL admin is really important to us because I think in a lot of cases the ownership piece of it just as important as the authorship piece of it, and we want the information to be specific to the organization that you work at. Not we can provide best practices and we can provide base content and we can provide all of that and we're happy to do it, but when it comes right down to it, the information that's going to be the most valuable, we've seen it 100 times from the organization, and particularly for like usage going past go live and mature content, is it's going to be really important to have that organizational specific information. It's going to help those end users right where they need it with the transactions that matter most to the organization. So if you invest in your team, It's like any other project or program, right? You see the value of OGL for your organization, dependent on the resources that you have. So I applaud everybody that has a dedicated OGL team. And one more thing, there's nothing wrong with relying on a partner consultant. We understand that resources are slim as well. We've worked together on countless projects before. So fantastic. It works great. I think as long as we have the team, we even talked about in the bookend strategy. We know Oracle, we know TAM, we know the customer are working together. It's fantastic. And most of the time, you're going to see a really successful OGL implementation based on.
That's right. We have had, like I said, some great opportunities to again exhibit that one voice that I talked about in the forum, that we are one voice. And so we are aligned in saying the same thing. And again, we hadn't coined that phrase, OGL first, but to coin it, OGL first, and we can put everything underneath there. All right, let's go ahead and open up and see if anyone has any questions. Let's see if anyone wants to come off mute, raise your hand, or put a question in the chat. Let's see. Any questions? You know what, Rebecca? I think we're just so good. They don't even have any questions for us.
I
Isn't
think they
that
want y'all
something?
just to keep going.
We're just so
You're all just getting
good.
started here.
All right.
How
Thank
much
you.
more time? We're like 2 hours. Let's just keep going.
All right. And as I knew we were going to have a good time with this chat because we align on so many different things. Rebecca, do you have any more final words for the group before we let you go?
No, I think this has been great. I think we've
Yeah,
really got into some good topics, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
I certainly did. All right, we're going to turn it over to Doug. What you got, Doug?
I echo your thoughts. I mean, this was great, guys. Thank you so much. I guess we'll wrap it up, but check this out though. OGL can be the first, right? OGL first, the first step in your Oracle adoption strategy, guys. And again, what we talked about today are just some of the best practices, AI integrations, what comes next. But let's keep talking. So if you're wondering how to get more value from OGL, or you just have some questions for us, we'd be happy to answer your questions, provide you a demo to get the conversation started. I should be sharing our info, which I'm not doing, but please
All
feel
right,
free
it's
to.
okay.
There we go. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Find us on LinkedIn. You guys know where to find us, I hope, and spread the word. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
This was really great. And Wanda, that amazing job as always. And yeah, thank you all for spending a little bit of time with us today.
All right.
We'll see you next time.